Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the 2018 version of Inside the Burrow, the only FAU podcast for and by fans. My name is Dan. I am joined by the usual suspect, Shane and Jack. And this week, really, we're going to talk mostly about the UCF game. We're going to have somebody join us from another UCF podcast, and that should be some great info for us all. But I guess to kind of dig into it, FAU, I think people are saying more than what needs to be said regarding the Bethune blowout victory. I've seen people that complaining about how bad the defense was, and we should have scored more points, and we're soft and average, and I think the game was what it was. It was over midway through the first quarter, and I think that the team kind of just took their foot off the pedal and just went from there. I mean, I don't think there's too much to read into it. Offense still looked fine. We didn't struggle. So the final score 49-28. That's what the game should have been, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy because throughout this season, other people tend to be more bothered about things than I was. It was 29-0 with a minute to go in the first quarter. The starting defense was dominant. Lane started taking it. Remember, we both starting safeties were out.
Yeah.
To begin the game, which I think is Jalen Young didn't play. I saw him. He was kind of bound. He was actually dressed. Jalen Young was dressed, but he didn't play. Which leads me to believe he'll play this week. Yeah. And Gilbert was out with a violation of team rules. So you saw a lot of OC Rose. Amon Ross, who was a high recruit, played at the end of the game. They jumped out, and then they obviously got a little sloppy. They were starting to put backups midway through the second quarter. I mean, yes, do you want to see our backups and some of our highly recruited guys play better against Bethune? But, I said to someone today that I think you kind of got the best of both worlds. You had like a good victory and a lot of good things, but there's still like a ton of correctable things that coaches can use as motivation and fix. This week we'll talk about like one thing, it's a little thing like we're struggling on 3rd and short. That's become a tough down for us.
Yeah.
I think missing Buddy Howell hurts. He was that change of pace, kind of run through it, and I think they're kind of missing that guy right now. I thought Robinson played well. People make a big deal of the 2 interceptions.
One of them was almost like a throwaway because he thought it was offsides.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even really count that because he was throwing the ball away. Essentially, it was he thought it was a free play.
Yeah, and the guy actually made a great interception. I mean, he made it like a catch. And then like Pico had the 2 back-to-back drops that were wide open, good throws. There was just this kind of sloppy clean. I think the D-line, I'm a little worried, especially Mackenzie Milton coming up. The pass rush lanes aren't very clean. They kind of run and they're not staying in their lane. So it's letting the quarterback kind of take off and run and giving them angles, stuff like that. I'm not freaking out. I said to Jack before the podcast, I said, if the motor touchdown late against Air Force doesn't happen or holding doesn't get called back, we win that game 40-20, and Lane leaves the starters in for another quarter against Bethune. Is anyone having these conversations right now?
All right. To your point about the container, I think that's perhaps that's something that we should be we could be concerned about. So I got to the game a little late. I was listening to the game on the radio, and Chris Bartels actually he made a good point where Aziz, I forgot exactly what the play was, but Aziz lost contain, and basically said because he's such a good athlete, was able to make up for it. I think that's one thing to be of concern because, like you said, and Mackenzie Milton, Omega's pay, Kyler Murray made us pay, and that was something that Lane said in the beginning of the season was they were concerned about Kyler Murray breaking contain and making those plays that only those type of quarterbacks can play and can make, and Mackenzie Milton is definitely one of those. So hopefully that gets cleaned up. Again, Aziz, he knows he's top of the conference linebacker. Hopefully he may have realized I'm a good enough athlete. I know I can chase this quarterback down. I'm not going to worry about it because it's going to be okay. And hopefully he realizes that probably wouldn't be the case with Mackenzie Milton.
Well, yeah, you just hope that the focus is a little bit more there. I do worry a little bit that I think there's been some times where we've just kind of leaned on out-athleting people.
Right.
Yeah. And it's kind of a good and bad thing. I mean, I'm looking at our offense, and there's just talent, skill positions everywhere. And, Willie Wright, Javon, Harris O'Brien, there's all these Motor and Kareth White, and there's all these great players. And I think there's times where they just kind of like, I can outrun this guy, or a little block is missed. And that's not going to happen this week versus UCF. They're going to have the same speed you do. It's all the same. It's very recruiting. So if you go look back at, I think I was talking to someone, and I even did the math of what the composite rating on 247 between FAU and UCF is the last 5 years, and there's only like 1.5 points off. So it's very similar athletes. They get their kids from Florida too. Mm-hmm. Willie Wright's not going to be able to just, if someone misses a block on one of the sweep plays we run, and Willie Wright's just not going to be able to use his speed and turn that into 8 yards this week. It's going to be 2.
Right.
So they got to do the little things well. Hopefully the Friday night, the short week, the focus. Who knows? I've had people ask me, do you think it's good or bad? UCF got the extra week rest. I think with young college kids, that can go either way. They can either come out and be slow or sloppy. When you see that sometimes even in the NFL when the wild card team beats the team that got the bye week because they've been playing football. They're kind of, you're into it. Who knows? We'll probably, find out that UCF really hasn't played anyone yet.
Right.
I don't know, because you're talking about the little things, and I just don't see us doing the little things right yet. And I don't expect it to magically just happen in front of 45,000 fans on primetime national TV in the in-state rivalry game, where they can match us speed for speed, athleticism for athleticism. I know, Shane, you're actually a little more calm in where we are right now. I feel like I'm that meme where I'm a dog sipping on coffee in the kitchen. The entire kitchen's in flames. And
you realized a year ago at this time we were about to lose to Buffalo, right?
Yes, but we didn't have expectations. We expect to dominate, and we haven't seen it yet. Yeah, Oklahoma blew us out. Yeah, Air Force is a triple option. Yeah, Bethune, we put our second stringers in early. They probably should have started Williams, Achilles Williams, the quarterback. He didn't come in until the second quarter, and that's when we really started to struggle. I feel like it was more
but you had
quarterback change.
Job out there chasing him around.
But yeah, I feel like a lot of our defense struggled because of the quarterback change, not so much of the second stringers, because we still had our, second string but rotational guys in who have seen playing time, and they were struggling. The defensive line, they can't get any pressure on a quarterback to save their lives right now. That could be a good thing because Mackenzie Milton, as soon as he sees someone coming, he's going to scramble, and that's when he makes things happen.
Yeah, I don't care if we pass rush once. I don't care if they all just stand there. I think
keep them in the
I said it before, I think, and I say so the best way is Mackenzie Milton can turn over the balls. He's had a couple games where he's got a little gunslinging, and I think the best way is I rather take my chances trying to make UCF go 10 plays. So I don't mind giving up the little swing passes, 7 yards, 6 yards, and hopefully and I don't think our secondary, we were completely outmatched for Oklahoma. Then they faced a triple option, and then they play there hasn't been like kind of this traditional game with maybe similar where our secondary we've really had a chance to kind of look at them play as a unit. So
I don't think to that point, I don't think this is the first game of the year where I think we get a real evaluation of the team.
I don't think that's true.
There's no way we're going to get a true evaluation of the team. If you're going to base the team off of Oklahoma, then we're going to go 0-11. If you're going to base the team off of, or especially base the team off of, or the defense off of Air Force, you're running the triple option. So there's a very unique,
which they adjusted to and tackled well and played aggressive. Everyone was worried we couldn't tackle after the first game. We couldn't tackle, and then they go tackle well against Air Force only scored because of a couple blown coverages.
Right.
And
a blocked punt for a touchdown. So you take that away. You take 1 and 2 blown away coverages away. Even at Bethune, like the super long touchdown pass, the quarterback that was a 50-50 ball. Like the quarterback wasn't throwing it to a receiver. There were 2 receivers in the area. Bethune just happened to have the better angle. It's a 50-50 ball. 50% of the time we're not going to get it.
I'd like to say that's the one thing I did say in the Bethune game. There was a lot of the 50-50 balls we weren't winning. Like you're going to have to win 50-50 balls this week. Like you have to. You're going to have to win 70% of them to win the game. You're going to have to just make individual plays because there's no scheme that's going to – UCF's going to – if you told me right now 35 points UCF, I'm taking it. Take that to the bank.
But we haven't won a single 50-50 ball all year.
But how many? Dude,
it's not gonna happen again. We're playing one of the most explosive. We're playing the fastest offense in the nation. I just don't have any confidence in our DBs right now while they're still trying to learn this system. I don't
think it's the system. I learn the system.
You're right. Yeah, it's similar. I think we're overdoing it. Oh, it's a new complicated aggressive system. It's too hard for them. I think it's being blown out of proportion a little bit. But for Pete's sake, dude, we go from number 2 in the nation in interceptions, and here we are, twiddling our thumbs.
But you're not going to get interceptions against Air Force, and it's Oklahoma just was a bit like what.
We had more blown coverage in our DBs in Air Force than we did interceptions. That's concerning. I get because the DBs are trying to bite, stop the run, but we should.
Well, you get them
air with speed, and we couldn't do it.
I think we're fine. I think you guys are just panicking. Like
I am panicking. I've had this.
Relax.
I have this game circled for so long.
I know. That's why you shouldn't have done all your FAU takeover. We should sell our ticket allotment first.
Dude, I've talked so much crap for years for this game.
Why?
Now
I don't get it.
I'm eating crow, dude. Like that drive back home on I-4 is gonna suck, and I'm not excited for it.
I don't think
because you're going to Tampa.
Dude,
regardless, you could win 100-0. Driving to Tampa sucks.
Anyway.
Yeah,
I don't think it's again, and not that I'm, that I think it's everything's fine. Certainly, there's things that need to be worked on. Punt coverage or not punt coverage, punt protection is still an issue. Field goals are probably going to be an adventure every single time. But again, we went from having a 4-year starter in Greg Joseph to a freshman. I mean, isn't there a freshman, the kickoff specialist, the kicker, and the punter? They're all freshmen. Yes, yeah,
right.
All of that. They're all freshmen. So yes, there's things that
you're not fixing that this year. I'm more concerned about the kickoffs because those were landing at the 10 every single time, and I'm more concerned about UCF starting at the 40 every drive than the punt because Lane will just go for it 7 times like he did.
Right.
So I'm not worried about it.
I not really got into it, but I had a conversation with somebody about the defense and kicking and stuff like that. And it's like, how many times have we gone for it on 4th and short on our side of the field? Like, we don't have to worry about punting. We don't necessarily have to worry about field goals as much. I mean, like, if it's not a chip shot, if it is, I don't know, 4th and 10 from the 15, then yeah, we're probably going to kick a field goal. But outside of that, if it's 4th and 5 on the 45 of the other team, we're probably going to go for it. So it's not like it's going to play a huge factor in the season. And also, how many games last year came down to special teams?
Yeah, well, I think some of the protection things are – but, like, you guys are just spoiled having a kicker that's now assigned by an NFL team. Yeah. Nick Saban has been looking for a kicker for – he has 5 national championships, and he can't find a kicker. Yeah. And you're out here telling me that – our kicker isn't working hard enough because he's dancing on the sideline. Oh, man, I'm sure Nick Saban doesn't let his guys dance, but they always seem to miss a field goal at the end of a game. You know, it's like, come on, man.
Right.
You know, they literally on the nest, like, sound like the guys that are like, oh, don't drink water when you're exercising. Water's for the weak. Brr. Like, I heard a really interesting interview with the Dolphin special teams coach, and he's like, people always look at, oh, this guy had a certain field goal percentage in college or a certain, you know, when we get a punter, they always look, first thing they do, they look at their average. And he's like, people do not realize how many variables there are in a college kicking game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like in the NFL, you have the same holder and year in and year out, the same long snapper. In college, that changes so much. There's so many guys that go in and out. Special teams is like, it's a circus in college. It's hard. It's hard to coach special teams in college. I mean, in the NFL, you have guys who make 11-year careers out of playing special teams.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, look at Arkansas. They don't even know what a fair catch is.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, to your point, Shane, Roberto Aguayo, the guy that the Bucks wasted a high draft pick on. There's that Jack.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, let's kind of we'll move on. You know, talk about we'll talk about UCF for a little bit. You know, I think I as somebody, and I think there's about 4,500 tickets that were sold from the FAU ticket office. I don't even know. I think I may have bought mine separately. I'm going up with a group of people, and somebody else bought them. And I think there was a better deal someplace else, not like sitting next to the FAU section. That was a better deal. So I think it'll be fun. You know, I'm making the trip up. I know you guys are as well.
If there's, you said 4,500 and say a few hundred people buy outside of that row, if there's 5,000 FAU fans there, that's probably the most we've ever traveled to a game ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we'll have it. I think so.
Yeah. FIU, what was that? 2014 comes to mind. 2015. One where his rain delayed, and Jay Warren fumbled it a couple times, and we lost. We had a good crowd for that one. We had a good crowd for Miami last time we played at UM. This will probably be the most we've had an away trip. USF 2013 comes to mind, but this is where all the hype is at, man. We keep talking about Orlando and the FAU takeover. You know, it's time to put our money where our mouth is. And I know I'm eating crow for it, but
you don't know if you're eating crow yet. You don't know
until
next week.
We'll find out.
We kind of talked about it, and I'm just kind of like in a being appreciative mode. Think about this, and it's FAU has a national, the ESPN, what they call the mothership game on a Friday night. And Lane tweeted about it today, back to back in a doubleheader with a USC Washington State game, and you have a game in the state of Florida, two the most talked about teams in college football, with Lane with us and UCF and everything they did last year, like in front of the nation. I mean, if you're a college football fan, you're tuning into that game.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you're watching it
Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't back in the day where we're playing UAB on a one camera feed. You know, like
on Tuesday night.
Yeah, on Tuesday. So it's just kind of like enjoy. I mean, you know, again, I know we talked about this a couple weeks ago with Oklahoma. We have another chance to be at the center of the college football world, and I do think there is some pressure though. I think you kind of need. You know, we've had success, and we've talked about how we can even grow the fan base, because I think the attendance-wise, anyone who's an FAU fan has been going to the last 2 games yet, but I just think our pool needs to grow. And the only way to grow that pool is have a marquee win like this. I think FAU's done everything it could do to market to the people who are already, fans or borderline fans of the program. But to pull even new people in, there's another opportunity to kind of like put – I know it's a lot of pressure, and I hate putting a lot of pressure on one game in a season but if you go out and you lay another egg here, no one's going to care when we beat Old Dominion by 50 in 2 weeks.
Right. It's a good opportunity. Winning takes us to the next level, but even an entertaining game. Because, again, we're not supposed to win this game. The UCF is favored by 13 or 14 or something like that. But an entertaining game, not in Oklahoma, basically, that's a statement. That's a good place for us to start. And, again, like I said earlier, I think this is the first game for us to know kind of who we are as a team and what we can look forward to. And if this is going to happen – this game to happen right before conference play, then I think that's I'm all for it.
well, we'll see. I mean, it's good for you, Shane, for being level-headed, but I'm just, dude. Who knows, man?
I think UCF's the better team. I'm not saying we're gonna go out there and win. I think we could be a really good football team and go out there and lose 42-21 and still be a really good football team. I'm not sitting here thinking, oh my God, did you see North Texas beat a debacle of an Arkansas team? Oh my God, FIU beat UMass, who's one of the worst teams in the country. I'm not sitting here going, oh, well, that might be a loss now. I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, there's a lot of other, I'm just not panicking against losing bad to other teams.
When are we finally going to have our marquee win?
We're still going to be able to make plays. I think this offense we're going to be able to – or against UCF, we're going to be able to run the offense that we would want to, again, provided we don't get – it's not 28-0 at the end of the first quarter, which I don't think will happen. I don't think UCF is as explosive as Oklahoma – but I think so. All right. So Robinson, I think, is going to have a much better game. I think we haven't seen what the offense can do. I still think Lane was probably holding stuff back. We haven't seen one trick play the whole year. I think there'll be some. I think now is the time where
one double reverse versus Air Force.
Right, and a double reverse. I hardly qualifies as a trick play. I mean, last year, every game there was one or two it seemed like there was one or two backwards passes thrown down the field. So I think there's going to be more wrinkles to the offense. I think Motor will get going, and they'll still have to key in on him. But I think that will only benefit us because we're going to have in Robinson a better, more accurate passer than what we had last year in Driscoll. So this could be the marquee game. It's
could be. Yeah, it could be. You never know.
I mean, get the hopes up here and think of all the positives. I mean, ending UCF's winning streak at this point is pretty monumental.
Oh, don't tease me. Don't get me wrong. I thought of it as tantalizing, but I'm just so aggravated of seeing, blowing Akron and North Texas out of the water, and they get wins on the road against Power 5 programs. Yeah, Arkansas is a dumpster fire, but Northwestern's solid. Troy got a win over Nebraska. Now Nebraska is thinking about Scott Frost. I'm sure Andrew, the guy from Knightline, who we're going to have on later, is going to have some 2 cents about that. It's just I'm just patiently waiting, man, because it's been over a decade now since we've had a win over a P5, and a marquee win at all. And it's just frustrating. Because what would be the most marquee win after Minnesota? Would it be USF 2013 when they won 2 games?
I don't think we really have a marquee win.
I mean, Minnesota went 1-11. That Minnesota lost to an FCS team. Like, I think they got blown out by an FCS team that year.
Yeah.
And it took Rusty Smith throwing 5 touchdowns and Tavius Polo with 3 interceptions to beat Minnesota. But yeah, I mean, as far as a marquee, you could say all of last year was marquee, you know.
So all of last year when we couldn't even crack into top 25, nice, we got was like 28th in the coaches poll. You know, it's great, but I guess I've become spoiled because I want more.
Well, I think it's just, especially with, like, we talk about the fan base, I think one of those type of wins almost in a way galvanizes it.
Yeah.
Like, especially we talk about, you know, especially not so much the older fans, but there's a lot of the students who have definitely friends, vice versa, FAU, UCF, and you hear, oh, we're national champs or this or that, and then, like, we beat them, and it kind of like you build a fan base when they have this one thing they kind of hang on to and galvanize. Like, oh, yeah, I can definitely talk crap now at the bar because we beat you. You know what I mean? We ended your winning streak is the type of thing that galvanizes and gets more people excited about a program. You know,
like, if we beat Florida, if we ended up beating Florida in Charlie Partridge's second year, whatever that was.
Yeah, he'd still be here going 7-5.
Does that galvanize? That doesn't do anything because we still lose. You know, we still only win 6 games or however many games after that. So that, like, now is the point. If this is a win, this is a very a statement win and could kind of give us some foothold, because then you look back, oh, wow, FAU won in 2017. They won again in 2018, knocked off UCF, did this. And you could look back and say that was the launching board that kind of propelled them to honestly get where UCF is now. I mean, that's if FAU was at where UCF is now, I'm extremely happy for that. So I think we're a few years behind them, but this is a chance to catch up.
Everyone's so doom and gloom, and then you watch week in and week out, and it's like, trust me, my betting account knows it. You're just like, what? How did that happen? You know what I mean? It's just every week. It's, you know, you think you have a team figured out, and oh, they have this weakness and that weakness, and college football strikes again. It's kind of when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-old kids, things tend to fluctuate.
Yeah. So Temple lost to Villanova. Then Temple beats Maryland after Maryland beat Texas, and now Texas is back.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I just college football. I just think, especially, and it sometimes favors the home team, but these weekday night games, Friday night, things tend to get weird.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we're going to have a special guest. Like we said earlier in the year, we were going to try to get some opponent feedback as we were going on throughout the year. And tonight we have Andrew from Knightline. He's got a great site, handles UCF, probably been around the longest, and he was gracious enough to join us tonight. So thanks, Andrew. We appreciate you being on.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
So I guess to get started, what's kind of the expectations surrounding the UCF program starting out this year?
Well, I mean, you know, we started out pretty good at UConn. We, you know, kind of didn't do everything that we wanted to in that game. I mean, I think the fans wanted the team to score even more points than they did. We wanted to see 70 points. You know, we always want to see 70 points, but you know, it's going fairly good. This game against South Carolina State was just kind of our laid-back game. It was just kind of a warm-up for FAU. I think all of our fan base, Knight Nation, is really looking forward to this game against FIU, and we really – or FAU, sorry.
Oh,
we wish
man.
that we – I know, sorry.
No, sorry. Not the same.
I apologize.
No, it's fine. We'll just leave it in. Well, our fans will hate you more. It'll just
that's awesome. It's perfect.
You're gonna have to block some people.
That's all good. Well, we've played that other school a lot in the last couple of years, and we have not played FAU very much. I apologize.
Well, you know, just kind of feel, I know with FAU, especially with all the expectations coming to the year, a little gas was taken out of that with Oklahoma. How much buzz for UCF around this game is there? Or
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if it was a Saturday game, I think it would be worthy of the game day or whatever. And we if it would have been on Saturday, we were thinking, because FAU was supposed to be, even more than they are so far. I mean, the Oklahoma loss, kind of made things a little bit different, but not in our eyes really, though, because we still think this is a big game. We think that Lane Kiffin is going to give us everything that he has. So, I mean, we don't doubt that. Lane Kiffin's out there to make a name for himself as well, again. You know what I'm saying? So if he could knock off number 16, of course he's going to want to knock off number 16. Everybody wants to knock off UCF. Why not?
Has anything – you guys noticed anything that's really changed? Have you guys noticed anything different, or is there a little worry or skepticism with the new staff? Or
No, the offense that we have, I mean, Josh Heupel is the head coach, and he came from Oklahoma. He won a national championship there, so he's a Bob Stoops guy. He knows how to run this offense. The offense is pretty much exactly the same as it was last year, but it's even faster. That's the thing. It moves when it can move fast. When the play allows for it to move fast, it even moves faster than Scott Frost's offense. It actually, I think, in the long run, once we get to play all of our games, I think it's actually going to produce more points and more yards and better stats than Scott Frost's offense did, because it's just different. The one thing that's different about it is the quarterback stands in the pocket just a little bit more and throws downfield a little bit more.
Talk a bit about Mackenzie Milton, the quarterback y'all have up there. What should fans be most concerned about?
Well, he's very, very accurate when he's on. Last week when we were playing South Carolina State, I think he kind of, went into it nonchalant, and I don't think that's what's going to happen this week. When he's on, and he can throw the ball way down the field. So, I mean, that's kind of the thing you have to worry about with him. Not only can he run if he has to, but he can throw lasers,
Now, it does seem at times, Mackenzie Milton, and you said you guys really haven't seen that before, saving the pocket, because it does seem that his best playmaking ability, especially when you watch, some of the games last year against Auburn and USF, is kind of like the broken plays where, he's out scrambling and pointing and getting guys downfield. It does seem, though, a tendency, and I know you said nonchalantly, that sometimes he can get a little gunslingy and turn over the ball.
He can. He didn't do that much last year. He did that in his first year. Last year, he really turned the page. I think that he just wasn't up for it. Maybe he was having a bad day or whatever. In fact, he said it in the press conference after the game 2 weeks ago now. He said, everybody has a bad day. I just didn't really have a good day, and stuff happens, but we still won, whatever it was, 38-0, I think. Which isn't, a big score. We were expecting a lot more, but with 3 turnovers by him, throwing 3 interceptions, that didn't help anything at all.
It does seem sometimes that we're just coming off saying, we talked about on the rest of the show how sometimes those games, it can get a little sloppy in the middle, and, some of those FCS games, we just kind of saw it against Bethune after jumping out 29-0 in the first quarter, and then they just almost seemed to kind of like sleepwalk. They were watching UCF film on the sideline the rest of the 3 quarters of that game.
Well, teams play down to their competition. They play up or down to their competition, I don't expect it from these guys too much more. I mean, there is no down competition that we have the rest of the season as far as I'm concerned, so I don't expect to see that again. We don't think that FAU is a down competition by any means. So I would not expect that this week.
But it does seem that sometimes some of the UCF fans do seem like a little, I find it funny because I'm very supportive of everything UCF has done, but there is a little bit of this we made it almost attitude amongst UCF fans. Which is a little crazy to me,
USF had back in 2008.
Yeah.
Well, there's bad apples in any bunch, I mean, we haven't really made it that far. We still have a lot farther to go. You know what I'm saying? we, came from an 0-12 season, which everybody constantly wants to bring up. That's all that everybody remembers, of the last 10 years of our football. They remember that 0-12 season. And I can tell you that 0-12 season was because the players gave up on the coach. If the players don't play for the coach, they'll lose the game,
Right.
And that's what happened there. They wanted that coach out. So they got an older guy, George O'Leary. He'd been around forever, done wonderful things at UCF. He did. He took us to that Fiesta Bowl win with Blake Bortles, and, was around for the Kevin Smith years and all that stuff. He built the program at UCF. He really did. He took it from – what's that?
Sounds familiar. Like, it sounds like the end of Schnellenberger, and he finished with a 1-11 season.
Right. So George O'Leary started with an 0-12 season and ended with an 0-12 season, which is really weird at UCF.
I think it's even FIU has had an 0-12 season. Just going to sprinkle that in. But that being said, it just seems –
Since I keep wanting to mention them, right?
Yeah.
We've reached the quota on them in this podcast.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So kind of leading down that road, what do you think would be, a weakness or something that FAU would be able to exploit, or what is something either on offense or defense that has you concerned about the game?
Well, our young defense they're working on it. Randy Shannon's defense is a little bit different than the defense we've had the last couple of years. Randy Shannon's defense is a real bend, don't break defense. That's the only way I can really explain it. The thing is, our young corners and safeties have been intercepting a lot of balls.
It's interesting. Last year, UCF was number 1 in the nation in interceptions. FAU was number 2. This year,
interesting.
Yeah. This year, I was expecting UCF's defense to take a step back and FAU's defense to take a step forward, but hasn't happened. Seemed to be it's the other way around. UCF's defense remains sound, remains ball hawks, and FAU, finally got their first interception against Air Force. Rashad Smith against Air Force. I can't even recall if we had an interception against Bethune.
We did. Rashad Smith had another one.
He's catching all the passes that Aziz has dropped over the past 3 years.
I said before the year, he's probably our best defensive player. But, we talked about it on our pod. I just think it was just the OU game. Then you play a triple option team, and then you play Bethune. And we haven't played one traditional opponent all year that, I know UCF is, talently better than us at most players, but I don't think they have Kyler Murray or Robbie Anderson.
I give you Anderson, but I think Milton is probably he's a top 5 quarterback. He's very similar.
He's not Kyler Murray. You guys kind of talk about the bend don't break. I know there was a lot of talk with what Randy Shannon's running. Is he running the 4-3 or the 3-4? I know
it's a base 4-3, but he'll mix it up, and sometimes you'll see 3-4, sometimes you'll see 4-3. So he gives you different looks, but it's a pretty solid defense still, because they'll give up yards, but they won't let you score very much. People are looking forward to this one. It's a blackout. Yeah. We're all wearing black, that whole deal. So that'll be exciting.
I was going to ask what you thought the crowd was going to be on a Friday night. I know it's a little tougher, with work and stuff with people getting there, but I mean, were you guys expecting a sellout?
I would say very close. We had almost a sellout. I think we had 43-something last week for our home opener, I believe. I know that the students are definitely going to be there, and one of the unique things that Danny White did when he came to UCF, and a lot of us older people hated it, but he took the student section that was all on one end and he put it on both ends. So both end zones are student sections. So that gets kind of weird. Yeah. So it's loud on both end zones, basically. I would assume that there would be a lot of FAU fans as well traveling, because it's not that far away. So I would think that that your fans would definitely come to UCF. I don't know what the ticket allotment is or whatever, and I haven't heard anything about that. But
mostly sold. I looked. I think we sold our ticket allotment. I don't know. I know someone told me they called FAU like a week ago, and it was tough, or FAU was maybe trying to get a few more, get some back. I know the Friday night hurt it for some people, but there's a lot of FAU alumni in Orlando and stuff. It, like, again, we said it multiple times, it should be a great atmosphere. And just the fact, it's ESPN Friday night. Lane tweeted about it today, like, just kind of the thought you're on a Friday night back-to-back primetime matchup with USC, Washington State. You know what I mean? It's, if you were to think 10, 15 years ago, like, hey, these two programs are going to play each other on a Friday night in a major college football back-to-back on, ESPN, on a back-to-back with a major Pac-12 matchup, you would have laughed.
Right.
The thought of that is crazy.
Yeah. Well, they're very similar programs in a way. You would think with 60,000 students, there would not be, there would be no question that the student section would be sold out every game. I've still never understood that. We have 60,000 students. We're the largest school again this year of people on campus, the largest school. And it's insane that sometimes the student section's not full. I understand everybody wants to stay outside and drink and party and stuff. I understand all that, but they need to make it into the stadium and do their thing in there, because it makes a big difference.
I think that's a problem everywhere. I've been to a lot of, we talk about this all the time in our podcast, and, any G5 school, it's attendance issues. It's, I've been to Wisconsin where the students don't show up to the second quarter. Or
Alabama has the same issues with student attendance, but when a Florida school begins to struggle with student attendance, all of a sudden the whole country, all college football fans across the country know about it.
Right.
Which I think is a bit unfair.
Yeah, it is. It's I guess we're in the spotlight, which is good, so it is what it is, I guess. But I think they're going to be out. Both schools now, FAU and UCF, have another thing in common. I don't know if you mentioned this when we were off the air talking, but FAU now has a white member, Danny White. Danny White's brother is the AD there now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
So what's his name? I don't know his
Brian
first
White.
name. Brian White. Okay. They are geniuses. This family is absolutely geniuses when it comes to being athletic directors and doing things. I'm sure that he's done some things on your campus that you've been surprised by or whatever.
Oh, we already noticed just from this whole summer, the marketing and the stuff and the effort they're doing in the community. You could just tell,
You could feel it. Yeah.
We would rather lose any football coach, Scott Frost, whoever can go, as long as we can keep Danny White. We want to keep Danny White at UCF as long as possible. We don't want him to go anywhere. Thank goodness he just signed like a new deal like last year that supposedly will keep him there for like 15 years or something. I don't remember, but
Nice.
Here's a question. I would ask you, how much animosity is there, almost like a thank you or we understand towards Scott Frost? I noticed a lot of joy when Nebraska lost to Troy this weekend.
Well, I think it's split down the middle, to be honest. So, there was love for him from the players, definitely. But I just think, I don't know if you heard the story, but they met the Nebraska people and Scott Frost met secretly in Philadelphia when we were up there playing Temple about halfway through the season, and then that's basically where it was decided. But then he comes back and he tells this story. Oh, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Not sure until the last moment. But he was the only one that gave them permission to put that out. Supposedly at the end of the Memphis game last year, the American Championship game.
Right.
We were going into double overtime or going into overtime at that point. That was when the game was supposed to be over. And all of a sudden it flashes across everybody's phone in the stadium, ESPN alert, Scott Frost is going to Nebraska. You know, that wasn't right to do that. That's just not the way to do that.
Well, I think we've probably talked your ear off here, and so we'll.
It's all good. I'm having fun. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate you you being on with us. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find your site and everything like that, and on Twitter?
We were just the Knightline podcast, but now we brought some other shows on, and we're the Knightline Sports Network. So we're going to have more UCF content. During the football season, some weeks we put stuff out like 7 days a week. We get pretty serious going on, and then we are I like to say, and I think that most people would say, we are the UCF podcast. And so you can find us at UCF _Knightline on Twitter, and that's where we talk the most with people. You can also find us at Knightline Sports Network on Facebook and at UCFKnightlinePodcast.com. Website's really bad, but it's coming. We're coming with a new one, and we got all kinds of exciting stuff. So if you want to hear about UCF football, you know, and UCF sports, we go all year round. We don't just talk about football. So it's all UCF sports all the time on the Knightline Sports Network. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
And before you go, Andrew, any predictions for Friday night?
Oh, man. Anybody who asks me that knows that I really don't like to give predictions, but then I ask people for predictions too. So I guess I have to at some point. I'm going to say UCF wins it. Obviously, I wouldn't root against my team. I think that it's going to be a good game. I don't think that it's going to be a blowout. I'd like it to be a blowout. I'd love to. You know, the line on this game, I don't know if you've seen it on mybookie.com. One of our sponsors has the line at 110. Which is crazy.
Wow.
The over-under?
That's a lot of points. Yes, the over-under is at 110. We're favored by 14 the last that I looked.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think I could take 110 points in that game.
I know. I mean, I don't expect that, though. I think we'll do it by 14. So that's what I'm not going to give an actual score because I'm really not that good at math. So I'll just say we win by 2 touchdowns. So.
All right, cool.
I think it's going to be a great game, though. And I just hope that nobody gets hurt and everybody has a good game on both sides.
Any of our guys want to throw any predictions real quick?
No.
I hate predictions.
I mean, we talked earlier in our show. That's the extent of how we feel right now.
Sure. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely appreciate you, Andrew, and thanks as always for Jack and Shane for being with us. And you know, hopefully we'll for FAU we're talking about a win next week and getting ready for the rest of the year. So thanks and go Owls.